remember that one video that I showed you where Jonathan Cho was trying to film? He wasn't invited into a press event at this SODO homeless shelter expansion, this mega shelter that was going to be created by King County's executive, Dow Constantine. And then the people inside that were with the county popped open an umbrella, Antifa style. Yeah, so Jonathan Cho couldn't get video of what was going on in this empty parking lot. I mean, it's just some wild, crazy stuff. Well, Jonathan Cho's efforts and the efforts of the community have resulted in that expansion being ixnayed, shut down. Oh, we're not going to do that. We've listened to the community and we need to reimagine and rethink this expansion. In other words, we're not doing it right now. So well done to those who fought against just a crazy big mega homeless encampment shelter going into an area that is already inundated and overrun with that type of shelter system. There's like between 10 and 15 within like a half an hour walk of this area. Don't need any more. And that's what everybody was saying. And the county had just kind of rammed this down everybody's throats saying, this is what we're doing. And other press people are like, this seems like a perfectly good idea. But the people in the area, and Jonathan Cho, who's been very vocal on this issue, they're like, wait a minute. No, this is a terrible idea. We're already overrun with people on drugs and crime and theft and everything that goes with that. So this expansion got shut down. Let's get into it. Let's see what the details are. The proposed expansion near the Chinatown-International District, the CID, would have added space for an additional 150 people at Salvation Army's Lighthouse shelter. The whole thing to me is just, you're going to put like 300 and I think there were an additional 150 people and they've already got space for 270. I mean, it's just hundreds and hundreds of people that they're going to be equipped for. And the homeless folks in Seattle don't go for this kind of shelter anymore. They just don't. They're like, we've got so many other options and we can just sleep on our tent out here, do our drugs, steal our stuff and live our lifestyle. Why would we want to go into that type of shelter? They don't. And I think everybody recognizes that. And in fact, the reason they don't is because they want to be out doing their crazy stuff in the community. You got to steal stuff to sell stuff to buy your drugs. That's how this game is played. And for so many in the homeless encampments, that's exactly what's going on. King County will not expand a homeless shelter in Seattle's SODO neighborhood after pushback from residents and business owners. Business owners in this area are just getting rocked. They're getting rocked. It's wildly unfair because this is a community that doesn't have a lot of representation. It's Chinatown-International District. You got a lot of folks that have immigrated there. They've set up their businesses. They work their rear ends off. And this is how they get paid by the city and the county. We're just going to dump a whole bunch of homeless people into your environment. We'll see how that goes. Hasn't been going great so far. Just you wait and see when this expansion comes. Well, they fought back on that to the point where they're saying, okay, we hear you. All right. I think the pushback was just far too great. And Jonathan Cho had something to do with that, right? He's been very vocal on this issue. So good for the community. Good for Jonathan Cho. I'm all for it because I don't think the expansion of another 270 beds in this area is the right call. And also an RV lot and all kinds of, you've already got a heavy concentrated number of shelters in that area. Do you need one more just going mega? Probably not. People living and working in the community have shared unease about what they see in neighborhood today. Poor public safety conditions in the CID and the feeling of doing more than other neighborhoods to provide human services. They already do. They already do. King County Executive Dow Constantine said in a statement, "These are reasonable concerns that can and should be addressed." Well, maybe you should have addressed those with some public hearings up front. But that's not how counties are working. They're just ramming this stuff down your throat and going, all right, yeah, that's what we're doing. And then it's that whole ask for forgiveness, not permission type deal, right? After the Antifa umbrella move by King County, in the video, you can see community members who were protesting this expansion. They were not allowed into the reporter's little tour of what was going to take place. These people are on the outside looking in. And for once, they, I think, kicked up enough fight and they were able to pull together. And for weeks, they did rallies and they did protests, actual peaceful protests. Yeah, they weren't throwing brick through businesses. They weren't lighting things on fire. They weren't, saying down with the police. They were actually voicing their legitimate concerns in a way that wasn't physically destructive. I know, that's hard to imagine. It's tough to imagine because we've been told so many of the peaceful protests were peaceful protests when in fact they were riots. So community members held rallies against the proposal for weeks. In late September, people demonstrated at the shelter's doorstep. The following day, they crowded the King County Council's chambers. Protesters demanded to know the county's public safety plan to protect people at the shelter and in surrounding neighborhoods. There was just no plan. They were just going to jam all these extra people in there or have bed capacity for said people. Because I don't really think folks they're not going for this kind of big, imagine putting a sleeping mat down on a gym and having 150, 170 spots, something like that. That's literally what they're doing. And an RV lot and all this other stuff. You're just bringing more of that concentrated crime element into a neighborhood that is already, fill up to the brim with that. Advocates in the Chinatown-International District were surprised by Friday's announcement, but said it's a step in the right direction. Now, my concern is that some other poor, unsuspecting neighborhood is just going to take it right in the behind because King County is just going to do the same thing to them, and they're not going to squawk enough about it. And so this is literally how the county's been operating. We've, over here in my direction, we've had a shelter open up, and there's been a noticeable increase in just tomfoolery going on. How about that? Tomfoolery going on. I noticed, I went into my Safeway, I'm at 134th and Belred Road, and this Safeway is on 140th. So it's 6 blocks down the street, just shy of a half mile, right? I pull up. What was I getting? I was getting something to eat, like a quick lunchtime. Wasn't full meal, but it's just, I need something. So I ran into Safeway grocery store. And as I'm walking in, this really concerned looking employee, he walked out and he grabbed a cart and somebody had just taken all their groceries from the cart, just kind of like, holding them without a bag. And you could tell they had just gotten, ripped off. Somebody had just literally walked off with, a couple of bundles of groceries. And you're seeing that pretty consistently. We're seeing that at the Home Depot right here. That's because you got this homeless element and they're on drugs and they got a fuel said drug problem. Guess how they do that? Stealing, robbing and stealing, right? While we've kind of tackled a big hurdle in the future, there's still a lot of past harm that needs to be repaired from the current shelter that went in without our lived experiences needs to be addressed regarding public safety. All right. In recent weeks, neighbors in the Chinatown-International District raised concern over crime and lack of communication from the county. I don't think there was any communication, was there? And that's probably what they're talking about. Our voices were minimized several times that we were not given priority and that we were painted as being anti-homeless. I don't think this community is anti-homeless. They have just had so many experiences that they are anti-crime. They are anti-fentanyl. They are anti-drugs. They are anti-shoplifting. They are do I need to keep going? No, because you get the picture, right? We are not, and we want to help our unhoused, but it has to be done in an equitable process. Yes, it does, without all the stuff I just said, right? But that's not happening, is it? Those in the CID said it's not them versus the unhoused. We feed them here. We provide mutual aid. They even give them haircuts here, that they live with us here. They're our neighbors. But what isn't appropriate is the crime that comes with it. And that's what the government has to address. They need to address the outreach. All right, so you're going to put this in the community. What are you going to do when it goes sideways? What are you going to do when it goes sideways? That's the question of the hour. And to date, they haven't done much. They're just like, you guys will just take it again. You guys will just take it. On September 21st, Chief Adrian Diaz, Chief of Police, Seattle, said there were already at least 10 places offering shelter and or services within a 30-minute walk from the SODO site. Why does it matter that they can walk that far? Well, because the homeless typically live within short walking distance of said services. They need to be able to go get all their stuff that we hand out to them for free. And so they don't live in areas where it takes too long to get to said services. So if you got, and it's my understanding, there's closer to 15 of these sites within a short walk, within a half an hour walk of, this district that we're talking about. Maybe we should just take a step back. This is the chief of police here right now. Maybe we should just take a step back and really evaluate how much level of service is in this area, because another one could really create an impact, almost permanently damaging the neighborhood. This is the chief of police for Seattle saying, hey, maybe we just step back and, because that whole crippling of a community, we're not down with that. So this is Chief Diaz, I believe, has 20-something years of experience. He was interim Chief Diaz when Carmen Best quit, unexpectedly, but expectedly after the Seattle Police Department had its budget. They were defunded. Chief Carmen Best said, yeah, nope, after CHOP, I'm out. Adrian Diaz took over. Permanent interim chief Adrian Diaz, who is now permanent chief Diaz, the mayor picked him. He's basically saying could almost permanently damage the neighborhood, crippling effect. So when you've got a longtime police officer, somebody in charge of a big Western Coast city saying, yeah, maybe you want to look at that, just a scooch. And he's probably dealt with who knows how many of the calls that have come in to the SODO area because of, the homelessness thing. In the downtown Seattle area, about 750 people are sleeping outside each night. So you've got this whole ecosystem that exists for the unhoused, and they got to steal from somebody. They steal from businesses because you don't have a lot of housing. You've got a lot of high-rise kind of condos generally in the area. You don't have a ton of suburban from which to walk to. And so these businesses get rocked in this area, and they're basically saying, hey, we don't need more of that. We need less of that. Under Executive Constantine's proposal to redirect funding, money would be used for a one-time wage boost for providers and investing in communities in the county that are able to quickly house people experiencing homelessness, such as the Green River area in South King County. All right, you going to ship all the people from downtown Seattle down to Auburn area of Green River in South King County? I don't see those folks as going along with that. Now, as long as they can stay in Seattle and have everything just, Friatle style handed to them, I think they stay right there and they say, thank you, taxpayers, so much. Much appreciated. We'll just be hanging out here on the sidewalk. We'll be hanging out here on the street for as long as we can. And that's what they're doing. All right, that's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. We'll catch up in the next one. Bye for now.